Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Coming up on the Onirakaku show, I will yell at everything for 45 minutes and then be demanding dominoes. He hears this later, like, I hate you. It's all in the spirit of good fun, and the ambient background noise this evening is provided by Tokyo Lo-Fi Healing, your emotional soulmate. Okay, that's weird. Could have sworn I just felt a drop from the ceiling. Okay.
Oh dear.
Better not be.
Oh, I've had that before. That's not nice.
Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on that. That's a little bit
weird. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean. Like I say, the viewing the ambient background music this evening is provided by Tokyo Lo-Fi Healing, your emotional soulmate. All day, long music for study, work, and relaxing beats. Tokyo Lo-Fi Healing. Be healed today. Okay. We're not anywhere near as delayed as last week because, not to get into too much of a personal thing, but last week was a cluster you-know-what. What with IRL and trying to get the Dracula retrospective put together, but as good as Vegas 12 is with regards to 3D lettering, it requires a lot of virtual memory just to do it right, and in order to get it to do what I want it to do, I essentially have to close down every other single program with the exception of antivirus, because sorry, all computers need that now. In this day and age, no exceptions. There are certain things you could probably live without, but antivirus is like, having the license for, say, Microsoft Office and what have you. It's not something you can avoid. Right. So there's not going to be a great deal to go into with regards to this week, because this week is essentially going to be a little bit more low key, just to try and take it easy. And as I said earlier today, it's essentially open topic night. So if you want to bring something to the table, as long as it's not political, religious, or too hot to handle or too cold to hold, then we'll talk about it. But we make a valid point of not talking about anything that's too controversial. So, like I say, politics, no, none of that on here, because
there's too much of that already.
Next year's the 2024 U.S. election.
Okay, I'm gonna go hide under a rock then.
Ladies and gentlemen, your newest president of the United States is Oni Rakaku? Wait, what? What?
Yeah.
My first decree. We shall have International Jim Cornette Shut the Hell Up Day. And there's Raiden thinking, oh god, I'm gonna hear about this.
Ooh, Dan's just commented. He said he went to Rhode Island Comic Con yesterday.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Got his picture taken with Orange Cassidy. Nice.
Nice.
Let me see. There's actually one article I'm going to kick things off with, and this was one of the articles I was planning to do for last week, but due to buffoonery, or just things in general, it's actually an article that pretty much has been saying what I've been saying for about the better part of 8 to 10 years. And that is simply this. This is from PCMag.com. 6 reasons why physical media beats streaming. Video streaming is cheap and convenient, but it can't touch physical media like Blu-ray when it comes to content, breadth, quality, and extras. Video streaming continues to surge in 2020, and it's easy to understand its continued growth. COVID-19 has seen many movie theaters close, so more people than ever return to their internet for entertainment. For roughly $10 to $15 per month, you can access vast film and television libraries from Apple TV+, Amazon Prime Video, CBS, All Access, Disney+, HBO Max, Peacock, Netflix, and other video streaming services. I also recommend HiDive for $4.99 a month. You get a lot of bang for your buck. And if you go for the annual option, you end up saving $1.99 per month, so that your average total will be $3.99 per month. HiDive.com. Anime defined. There's Raiden rolling his eye, goes, you cheap sellout. Doesn't cost much money. Building a Blu-ray library is not inexpensive, as much as you purchase a standalone or a next-gen console, an individual disc that costs at least the price of a monthly streaming video subscription. Still, if you're a person who loves movies, I do, a person who loves film, that's basically the same thing, the Blu-ray and Ultra Blu-ray formats are the best ways to enjoy your favorite flicks. Here's why. If you own an HDR compatible 4K TV and a good surround sound system or soundbar, you'll want to experience the highest quality audiovisual content possible. Just for a heads up, I hate that word now. Content. Blu-ray, particularly Ultra HD Blu-ray, lets you do just that. The formats deliver the best possible picture and sound that'll fit into the disc. Provided the source material is top-notch, Apocalypse Now, Final Cut, Blade Runner 2049, and Pan's Labyrinth, the Criterion Collection release, not the mediocre 4K transfer. Someone's being sour. And have some of the best pictures you'll see at home. Unfortunately, video streaming's holes are really apparent. Hulu's 4K support is spotty, and its HDR support is non-existent. HBO Max doesn't currently support 4K or HDR, but that's going to change starting with Wonder Woman 1984, a movie that debuts this month. Yes, as you can probably guess, as you can guess, this article is dated, but the reasons why physical is better than 4K, is still better than streaming, is still relevant. NBC Universal's Peacock doesn't support 4K or HDR at all, but likewise says these features are coming in the future. CBS All Access supports 4K and HDR, but only on certain platforms. On the upside, Apple TV+, Amazon Prime, Disney+, Google Play, Netflix, and YouTube do offer video streams containing these eye-catching features. That said, there's no promise they'll deliver best-in-class video and sound quality. These features require additional internet bandwidth. Pay attention to that, because the services must send streams with higher bit rates. Each video streaming service works around this in a different way. Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus tend to stream at higher bit rates than their rivals. According to third-party testing, that analysis determined that this higher bit rate is 1.5 to 2 times that of a vanilla Blu-ray disc, but roughly that of a Ultra HD Blu-ray disc. Netflix recently announced that it switched to new optimized encoding that halved its 4K streams bit rates without changing the quality. Despite that contention, some people did notice lower quality 4K streams, something Netflix says is an outlier. And here's the bit where all of us that have known this for a while get to be smug, and rightly so. Blu-ray does not require an internet connection, with the lone exception of the occasional firmware updates. But that's like for anything, whether it's antivirus, iTunes, or various updates that are required. It's like the same when you have programs on your phone, whether it's, Netflix, the book, Twitter. Don't call it X, Elon Musk, it's Twitter. Stop confusing people. Instagram, Costa Coffee, Subway, the Subway program, Domino's, you get the idea. Blu-ray just needs the occasional firmware update just so that the hardware does what it's supposed to continually. With video streaming services, you can access programs as long as your internet is working. Yeah, tell that to me 2 weeks ago.
Sure. And me.
I was right in the middle of the Justice League Season 1 finale, and I had to wait about something like nearly an hour before the internet came back on. And people want to push streaming over physical. You can tell I'm not bitter. Sure, your internet connection may be fast and dependable right now, but everyone has experienced, or will experience, and I've experienced a load of them, network outage. This is a particularly important issue as you move away from urban and suburban environments where the internet is stable. Because if you live out in the country, sure, you're likely to get a reasonably okay internet connection, but if you say, let's say, for the sake of discussion, for this moment in time, Raiden lives in a very nice, swanky penthouse in the very classy part of Seattle. Let's just say, for argument's sake, he's got his Dodge Challenger in his garage. He's got his fine, Gunpla and other collectibles. And he sees a lookalike of Tatiana Ali, comes like, "Hey, honey, I'll be with you later." He's got a better chance of internet of quality streaming service in Seattle, say, as opposed to living out in the sticks between LA and Phoenix, where they're not likely to resolve it as quickly. This is that, as it's saying, this is one of the other parts where the internet is not as viable. Beyond that, some people deal with internet providers that have established bandwidth caps. Oh, we don't like those people. No. Something that streaming 4K video easily devours. It's a problem with gaming streaming services too. This is probably something Oni deals with too. If you're streaming 4K video with HDR and surround sound, you'll be pulling a pretty hefty stream depending on your bandwidth limitations. You may need to upgrade your internet service plan. I would, but unfortunately money does not grow on trees, and if it did, the entire orchard would be blanker than WWE's creativity these days. Blu-ray discs shine in these situations because they let you watch a film or television show when the internet falters. As long as your place has power, you can pop in a flick and not worry about outages or smashed data caps. Plus, a Blu-ray disc's picture quality isn't tied to your internet connection speed. And this is the other thing that people don't think about. You can't find everything on streaming services. There are many movies and shows that you won't find on Netflix. The Super Mario Brothers movies from 1993 is horrible, trust me it is. But it's worth at least seeing once. I would argue against that, but that's just me. You can find it on streaming. You can't find it on streaming. Kevin Smith's 1990 film Dogma. Oh, sweet Lord above, that movie! Do you know what the irony is? That movie is considered like one of the most... I don't know if inappropriate is the right word to use. Some people say there's a lot of blasphemous stuff in there. Kevin Smith is actually a Christian, and he said he made this movie about his faith. And I'm like, wait, you're a Christian? It's like, it's the first I'm hearing of this. Isn't available on video streaming service because the rights sit with Bob and Harvey Weinstein. Oh, tugging on the collar sign.
Yikes.
The Basketball Diaries, one of Leonardo DiCaprio's early films, is also missing from video streaming platforms. All of them are easily purchased on Blu-ray. In addition, many video streaming services suffer a recency bias. You'll find the best black and white films on services like Criterion Channel or in HBO Max's TCM section, but the other films from that era are missing in action. Good luck firing up Netflix to watch On the Waterfront. Netflix and its ilk would rather push their own original programming, as they don't have to pay licensing fees for its stuff. I'm saying stuff because, again, I'm sick of that C word. It's a major problem in terms of film preservation. Not all movies and TV shows is available on Blu-ray, but you'll probably find at least a DVD release with little effort. As you know, Blu-ray players support DVD, so does 4K. If you really love a film or series, it behooves you to pick it up on Blu-ray. Besides the impressive sights and sound, Blu-ray discs ensure that you'll always have your favorite stuff readily available. Sadly, video streaming services often remove popular items. Tell us about it. And I called this 11 years ago when Titanic was taken off of Netflix, and then 6 years later, the original Jurassic Park trilogy gone. And people say, oh, it'll stay on Netflix. Then they get to the end of October 2018. Well, damn. And there's me looking smugly with my latte. I was like, oh, it's none of my business. Let's say you joined HBO Max with the exception that you'd like to watch all of the DC entertainment-based films. At launch, Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight was there for your viewing pleasure. However, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, the other flicks in Nolan's Batman trilogy, left HBO Max in September to become a 6-month Peacock exclusive. Peacock's Universal's, right? What is Warner Brothers stuff doing on Peacock? I'm trying.
Maybe it could be some sort of deal that they worked out. Possibly.
I think so, yeah.
I know
Considering Disney's now purchasing Hulu.
I know this is a very old meme, and Raiden will probably recognize this, but this has to be said. This will only make sense in TNA.
Which is back, by the way.
I heard. If you only subscribe to HBO Max, you can't watch either film. Netflix has an ongoing monthly Leaving Soon news section just to let people know which shows are leaving the service. This is a necessary feature as movies and shows drift between the services or fall off into the digital void. You don't own the films on streaming services. In fact, you don't even own them on digital services like Amazon Prime or Apple TV. Some people have discovered that the shows and movies that they've purchased have been delisted from those services, leaving them with nothing. I was actually hearing like a small audio clip from this podcast. Somebody had the original Dune on Apple TV or of iTunes more specifically. He bought it, but Apple still took it off their services. That's why he went out and bought the Blu-ray, because then who's to take it away from them? If you own The Dark Knight on Blu-ray, you can watch the film whenever you want. Besides, most Blu-rays come with a redemption code for a digital copy and lets you stream a movie if you so choose. It's the best of both worlds scenario. Blu-rays are packed with extras. If you're a true cinephile, you'll love all the extra features that come with physical media. Theatrical trailers, director and actor commentaries, behind-the-scenes documentaries, deleted scenes, storyboards, and concept art are all part of the Blu-ray experience. This bonus library is something much harder to find on streaming video services. Take note, people. For example, the Blu-ray for the recent horror film Overlord includes a 50-minute making-of documentary that's absent in the film's Amazon Prime Video version. Even The Irishman, a film produced by Netflix, suffers in this regard, including bad de-aging CG.
Yeah.
I saw that and I'm like, guys, just get deep fake. All you'll find is The Irishman in Conversation, a 23-minute conversation between director Martin Scorsese and actors Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. The Blu-ray version, a Criterion Collection release, has the same conversation plus a making-of documentary, a video essay, and a look at the de-aging technology used in the film, and archival footage of interviews with the real-life Frank the Irishman Sheeran. To be fair, Disney Plus films have an extras tab bonuses live, and Amazon Prime Video offers a service called X-Ray that drops information about actors in the current. It's certainly not on par with the extras on many Blu-ray releases. Criterion Video Collection and a few other boutique Blu-ray publishers include original box art, enhanced packaging, posters, and art books. The packaging, in addition to the care and effort put into the film's presentation, is key to how physical media offers better, complete experiences. Furthermore, convenience isn't everything. If you only care about convenience, then yes, streaming is the way to go. Why listen to us? I subscribe to many video streaming services and use them on a regular basis. Still, Blu-ray discs offer numerous enjoyable benefits and extras. You probably don't need an Ultra HD Blu-ray to watch It's a Wonderful Life like this holiday season, but there is a fantastic version sourced from the film's original nitrate negative that brings its old film grain back to life. Streaming will get you through day to day, but the disc will always be there on your media shelf, showing people you have taste and class, or not, depending on your movie selection. And when your internet goes down, you'll have lots of disc-based and movie, TV catalogs to tide you over until you continue bringing the Queen's Gambit. This person probably has a similar sort of sarcastic wit, probably similar to that of Jeremy Irons' portrayal of Alfred Pennyworth in Batman v Superman. There are times where I'm like, Alfred has no chill. It's like that moment goes, well, I'm sorry for listening in, sir, but I've tracked the Russian cell phone number to the warehouse across the port. You're locked onto it. I don't deserve you, Alfred. No, sir, you do not. And I'm like, geez, dude.
Tell them how you really feel.
Also, that extended cut, that goes on way too long. The theatrical cut is 2 hours 25. The extended cut, 3 hours 2 minutes. And I'm like, that's too long.
Why does everything have to be like 3 hours with that kind of thing? I mean, one of the more recent films that has come in, Killers of the Flower Moon, that's about 3.5 hours, and that's without the adverts.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When they put Spider-Man 2.1 out on DVD and Blu-ray respectively when it was released, they probably only put in a collective total of maybe 2 to 5 minutes of restored footage so that certain scenes have better context. Like the scene in Spider-Man 2 where he says, must have a strong focus on what I want. There's an extended version of the college medical scene where the doctor actually says to him, you need a strong focus on what you want. And then when you see it later in the movie, it's like, that makes sense now. Context is important. And, you know, through that entire article, it's reflecting what I've been saying and feeling for years. Because Netflix, Disney Plus, and especially High Dive, as far as I'm concerned, if you've never seen something before, you go in, you watch it, and if you like it, you go out and buy the movie or you buy the entire series on Blu-ray, because you went, you know, it's the streaming services are basically like rental services. You know, it's basically the online digital version of going to Blockbuster Video or, you know, to some other people in the southwest of the UK, Whirlwinds. But here's what people need to remember, and I want this to be a take-home lesson for a lot of people. I'm not saying this to be spiteful, I'm saying it like it is. If you only have Netflix to say, for the sake of discussion, just to watch Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I'd question that heavily, but that's just neither here nor there. You're having to pay $4.99 to $9.99 a month just to keep watching that, when if you'd actually got yourself an Xbone or a PS4, or if you've got a Blu-ray player, go out and buy it on Blu-ray once. It'll probably cost you no more than 15 to 16 pounds a time, depending on what is loaded in with it with the extras. And that's it. You've paid for it the once. But think of it this way. That $9.99 each month, eventually that turns into something close to $110 in a year, and bills start mounting up. Because I cancelled my subscription to Disney Plus because most of their library I've already got on physical. It's like, oh, you could watch Endgame on there. I've already got it. You could watch the original Iron Man. Got that 15 years ago. You could watch the Spider-Man trilogy. I've already got it. Bought it when it came out. And then it hits them. It's like, you got nothing to throw them with. The only reason I had, like I say, Disney Plus was just to watch The Owl House, because, and I'm only saying this based on what I viewed and witnessed, The Owl House and other series like it is a breath of fresh air for Western animation. It's something that needed to happen years ago because, well, Western entertainment, not all of it, but a very vocal portion is just becoming unwatchable. Because for every Owl House, and Raiden's going to slander me in a bit, it's like, bruh, where are you going with this? For every Owl House, you get 2 to 3 more Feedbuster clones. And for every Jurassic World Dominion, you'll probably get more Birds of Prey or Charlie's Angels reboot, and I'm hearing Raiden say at some point, "Don't call me Angel." Shut the fuck up. This is the point, people. And this is also why anime is beating. No, I'm not. For some reason the chat said fools is considered offensive. No, it's not. It's not an offensive word. Fool is just being objective. And I completely agree, Sean. they were foolish to shorten the Owl House because Dana Terrace had a very specific plan to end it the way she saw fit, because she had to fight for those feature-length episodes for the third season, because Disney were quite content with just pulling the plug. I mean, she's like, no, you're not ending it like this. I mean, if she had it her way, she would have ended it with a 5th season, because I feel like with the Owl House, that's a story that needed to be told over, when I say multiple seasons, I mean, 3 seasons is multiple, but she had something grander and something more slow burning where you could tell the stories that she wanted to tell. But unfortunately, Disney being Disney. And so what it comes down to, folks, is simply this. Streaming is very convenient. If you haven't seen something before, I'd like to try it out. Or, now this is where, I'm not going to be snarky. I'm actually going to be tactfully, objectively logical with this. If you live in a small accommodation, like you live in an apartment where you only have the basic space for the barest of essentials, then alright, digital and streaming is the way to go. But if you value your DVDs and your Blu-rays, like myself and many others do, physical is not going to be deleted from your viewing experience. Whereas, say somewhere down the line, I don't know, let's say Zen Master Raiden's History of Hip Hop, hosted by Snoop Dogg. In the future, you get that one person that's like, oh, I'm offended by this. It's gone from Raidenflix. And he's like, Brett, why'd you take that down for? People love that. I don't like it because they said the word rapper bingo. What? Now, granted, that's a very lapse and a very mediocre, exaggerated reason. But it's the fact that there are some, not all, some, who don't get the context of what they're looking at and just seem to want to ruin everyone else's fun just because they can't do the smart and logical thing and just think, no, this is not interested in me, I'm just going to switch channels or, switch to something else on this service. Because, folks, I'm not being sarcastic for the sake of it, I'm having to point this out. You see something on TV, you don't like it, pick up the remote, change the channel, or put a Blu-ray on. It's that simple. Because if you continually watch something after already being offended by it, who's the bigger idiot? I rest my case. Now, Sir Stephen, as somebody who values home physical media entertainment as much as I do, would you be in agreement that the author of the article in question has been more than fair, if not slightly more sarcastic than me?
Very much so. I mean, the thing is as well, because I end up going to a lot of Comic-Cons, with physical media, you can actually get the covers of said movies, TV shows, and whatever, signed by the people who played said characters or had a hand in their production. I always find that it makes it more personal to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's ever going to waver anytime soon.
No, I'd have been in agreement with that. Anything further to add?
And I think that can also apply to games as well, because a lot of, especially with the more recent consoles, they've been trying to push digital-only versions. And for me, I always like to get my games in physical.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with Random about this before we went on air this time last week. Sony tried to do this with the PS4 when it originally came out and said, we're just going to be digital only. digital Oni. Oh no, there's gonna be a digital version of Oni. Hey Raiden, I'm on your
Wait.
Hey Raiden, I'm on your cell phone now. Bruh, get out of here.
What? So he's going to become an Alexa now. Hey Oni,
Yes.
more information about find more information about the head of WWE.
Oh no. Oh no. I think he's probably just gonna get annoyed by the fact that every time we call him up on Discord, it's like, "Hey Oni, find this from your Amazon. Do your damn well self." No, the fact that originally Sony were going to have digital only for their titles, customers went up in arms and said, "No, we're not having this. What if we want to lend, one of our friends borrow one of our friends borrow our games because they're interested. They might want to know what's going on. They can do that." Because I get what they're trying to do. It's like, well, why can't they just go buy it? They haven't got the money at this time. I'm allowing them to borrow it because I purchased the physical. Therefore, it is my right, within reason, to do with as I see fit. Because, as Madam President once said, and I'm not even going to try and do Liz's accent because that might come across as offensive, money talks and bullshit walks. And I think, in particular, this is something that Brian Rojas was saying on his YouTube page, a small while ago. I think Black Friday will be a very key, pivotal moment for physical media because the fact that, as I've mentioned, a lot of people are canceling their subscriptions to either Disney Plus, Apple TV, Netflix, and what have you, because we're in a living crisis. The cost of living is too much at the moment, although some bits and pieces some areas are starting to be a little bit more financially viable, for lack of a better word. But we're not there yet. Having gone through the world event in the last few years, things are still slowly recovering. So that's going to take time. And like I say, people can't afford all these streaming services. I mean, some 8 years ago, it was just Netflix. But then it became Amazon Prime, then Disney Plus, then Paramount Plus, then Hulu, then Peacock, and then the WWE Network. And just so you know, Raiden, that's actually still a thing outside of North America. The WWE Network is still around the rest of the world. And people are just at that point now where it's like, yeah, these streaming services are convenient, but when do you get to the point where you start relying on quality over cheap convenience? And I think it's going to get to a point where there's going to be a renaissance of cable package services, because you think about how much, let's use Sky Sports as an example. You get like the Sky Sports package, that's £25 to £30 a month. This is how I remember it when I did have Sky Sports as part of Virgin Media back in the day. That's at least 4 to 5, maybe 3 streaming services, when it's just cheaper and more cost effective, dependent on what. If you're just buying one movie or a TV series or a series of movies on Blu-ray, it's more cost effective in the long run just to purchase the one-off. But then you'll get these people that, like myself, I have Jurassic Park on VHS. I still have my VHS copy. Mainly because that was given to me as a present from a loved one who's sadly no longer here. So I hold that one in a little bit more of a sentimental regard. I've got Jurassic Park on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray. So, I always want to be able to enjoy the movie the way I always want to. And as we said, streaming's convenient, but the moment the internet goes out, what good are those streaming services to you? I don't know. In all of this, we have not gotten Raiden's thoughts, so
I'm still here. Sorry.
yeah.
It's
So
okay.
Zen Master of the Lair, I give you the floor.
I'll be honest with you. Half the time I'm lazy, but a lot of the times I do get the sentiments of like physical media being preserved. You know, so it's at the point where we are advancing, but we're not advancing the right way. To get my drift.
Hmm.
And Steven, I definitely understand, especially with gaming. You know, I mean, I get my games digital nowadays, but for the older stuff, I'll still want to get like a couple PS2 games on physical, mainly because like one, preservation, two, like have fun with the fellas.
The sentimental
I mean,
reasons.
yeah. Oh, really want to play? I usually do emulation, especially with games that's like mad expensive. So these streaming services, they do provide great content, but I think at the end of the day, you have these things going on in the world that's like they're not really saying much. They're not really doing much at the end of the day. Like Disney Plus with their Marvel stuff, like they're finally realizing, hey, okay, Marvel's not really doing good, but they're still pushing it out. Like just a polished turd, especially with the Marvel stuff.
Polished turd. That's a South Park quote, isn't it?
Yes. Therefore, when it comes to media streaming service, I'm at an impasse. I am enjoying some of their content, but I do get the sentiment of like physical media needs to be preserved more. So that's my thing.
There does need to be a balance because, as I say, if you have accommodation whereby you don't really have that much space to work with, then okay, yeah, absolutely. Streaming and digital is the way forward for you. But if you have the space and you love it, both markets, groups, communities, call them what you will, both of them need to be catered for. And there's a little something that I did do a little bit of reading up on. Studios are actually losing millions, dare say billions each year by having their catalogs on streaming, whereas the rewatch value, okay, I will acknowledge, in some years physical media sales dropped a little, but there was this interview with, I think it was let me just double check. Is it Serial at Midnight? Yeah, there was actually an interview a few years back where they had this person who had been cataloging physical media sales since Betamax. And he said he noticed something. His name is Ralph Tribby. He noticed that in 2020, 2021, that physical media sales had sold more than they'd ever done before. Because of the world event, more people were forced to stay at home, so therefore they have to find a means of trying to occupy their time. People were buying by the bulk load, and it's speculated this year physical media will be selling more because of the fact that, as we've mentioned, titles are being edited on streaming services. Apple are deleting some of their catalog items from their servers, and people have had enough. I mean, it's like how Peacock are going to be editing matches out of WrestleMania's catalog. Like, I'm going to say this tactfully, it was the retirement match of Roddy Piper when he went on to wrestle again for years after, but it was the one where half the side of his face was painted. And Raiden will know what I'm referring to. I'm just not going to say it aloud.
I think I know.
And it'd be like, editing everything. I was like, oh, we've got to make this family friendly. It's like, you do know there's a reason for disclaimer labels that says this was made at a time where society was very different and the company was very different, and these do not reflect the views of people that work for the company today. It's just how the company was and how society was, so therefore it's just being historically accurate. And Warner Brothers did something similar years ago when they put out like this compilation of Looney Tunes from the 40s and 50s to say, look, this was made at a time where, this is how things were. They don't reflect how we feel today, but to ignore them would be just as ignorant if this was being allowed today. So, it's just acknowledging this is how things were, and therefore it's an example of how far society has come, or in some cases how society has regressed in some places. Your view might be different, but those are the faults of some people that look and think, this is better. Just saying. I mean, the fact that some, not all, and I'm having to say some each time because some people don't listen, and because context is important, some people get offended too easily over the most minuscule of items. I don't get it, I don't want to get it, but it is what it is. Now, I think I've rambled on long enough with regards to this. Is there anyone that wants to say anything within closing of the reasons why physical media is superior, or shall we move on?
I think I've said my piece on it.
And
Okie dokie. Right, let me just cross that one off the list. Let's see. We're going to go through very, very, very quickly the results and winners of WWE Crown Jewel. And as Raiden like, must we? Let's see. The card is as follows: Sami Zayn versus Jay McDonough, John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. Beg your pardon. Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. Why is she back here? Oh wait, because McMahon. Ugh. Versus Raquel Rodriguez.
Axis Hunter.
Oh, really? I thought it was Wacky Mackie that brought her back.
Well, okay. Quick context. In Endeavor, right? They have Vince McMahon in control, but for 90%, Hunter retains all the creative power. And from what I've heard, putting Vince there was not a good idea. It's a real horror show down there, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Shayna Baszler versus Zoe Stark, not affiliated with Stark Industries, just so anyone knows. For the Women's World Championship, Io Sky versus Bianca Belair for the women's title, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight title, and Roman Reigns versus LA Knight, no relation to me, for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. And from this point on, I'm just going to refer to it as the undisputed WWE Championship, because you've already got a world champion on Raw, you got a world champion at NXT, you don't need two world champions on SmackDown. And even Roman Reigns has one belt, and not once on there does it say Universal. It just says Undisputed Champion. Anyway, Jay McDonough versus Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn won. Was this match any good?
I would no, I didn't watch it.
Nice to see Sami getting a win because they did kind of pull the rug out from underneath him by sending Kevin Owens back to SmackDown, but it is what it is. Seth Rollins retains against Drew McIntyre. Kind of mixed feelings about that because Drew, in my opinion, needs another title run. But
You might be honestly after might have hearing.
Which is a real shame because during the World event, they put the title on him, and to his credit, he was a damn good WWE champion. They just didn't push him when the crowds came back in.
Yeah.
Ripley versus Jax versus Stark versus Rodriguez versus Baszler. I'm not really surprised at the moment with Ripley retaining because she's got good momentum at the moment, and they need a competent and credible women's champion on Raw, and she's it. It's not to take anything away from the other ladies, but does anybody really care about Baszler at the moment? I mean, really?
They're trying. I've heard they're trying, especially after she put Rousey on the way out at SummerSlam. So okay.
Zoe Stark. They need to get her to do something after Trish going back home. So Rodriguez, I really wish they'd just give her something useful to do instead of hot potatoing her creative around, because she's genuinely talented. They just don't do anything with her. Let's see, Rhea Ripley won. Now, Cena actually put Sikoa over. Okay. Also, seeing Cena do a choke slam's like, okay, that's well done, Cena. You learned a new move. Took you 21 years, but it's nice to see they're actually still doing stuff with him, and I'm probably in the vocal minority with this, but can we just let Cena have one more run as world champion just to say we can have done with it, and he's broken the record for most world titles recognized by WWE? Because at the moment, he's tied with Ric Flair, and even Flair has said he wants Cena to be the one to break the record. I don't know why WWE just does not pull the trigger, just like, you know what, just let him do it. Because then it's a record for someone else to break in the future. That's my thoughts on it. Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul for the US title. Oh boy. Logan Paul wins.
Yeah. The messed up part is
Why?
Because reasons.
The messed up part of it is with Logan's busy schedule. Yeah, you might not see that U.S. title for a while on SmackDown. So
He's gonna.
They've already screwed the pooch with Roman being part-time with that world title. So get this: the only active title they have now is the SmackDown Women's title, and that's no good.
So with the US title, they're going to Brock it. Just great.
Just with an idiot, with an even more idiotic person holding it.
I think at this point, calling him an idiot is just redundant.
Yeah.
Io Sky versus Bianca Belair, women's title. Io Sky retains, and if we're being real a second, I think the ideal time for Io to probably drop the belt is either maybe Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble, because it still feels a little too early. She hasn't really been given a lot of time to grow in and establish a run. Because normally when you think of women when they get their first title reign, it's they're either going to be very short-lived, or they want to go to try and build them up, actually push them a while to see what they could get out of it. And that's my view.
Also, Kairi Sane came back.
Nice. Damian Priest versus... Go on.
For all that, it also makes a little bit of sense, because since Io and is still part of Damage Control along with Bayley and Dakota, Bayley was in a sense like out the loop, because remember, Bayley was the one who packed Kairi up after she got released. So there's that. So there's a little bit of cracks within Damage Control, which I really hope it ends soon, because that stable has not been.
No.
Since it formed, so in a sense that does build an interesting thing going on in the future.
I feel you. Damian Priest versus Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes wins. I've noticed what they're doing with Cody at the moment is actually very smart. They're putting him on a slow burn again, because this guy is still very young, but he's also a battle-tested veteran, and his mic skills, they're some of the best I've ever seen. His promos, they are on the dramatic side, but every word he puts out, you are glued to the screen because you feel and believe every single word he puts out. And it's only a matter of time before you hear this announced, maybe at WrestleMania, your winner and new WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, to win.
Is that the point? They have to put the belt on him, because like, how long are you going to keep that Roman train going? Because like,
people are sick of him now.
Yeah, they need to have him break Bruno Sammartino's record. Like, okay,
good luck with that.
Now what? Yeah,
because people are sick of him now. I mean, here's the thing: amazing athlete, and it's impressive what he came back from, because to those who do not know, 5 years ago, he actually had to relinquish the very title he fought so hard to get back, because his leukemia reared its head again. And to be fair to him, he wasn't... When I say he wasn't gone long, because sometimes even a month can be considered a lifetime in WWE, but he wasn't gone for like years. He was back within... Let's see, he relinquished the title 2 weeks after SummerSlam 2018. And then he was back, I think, what was it, about a month and a half before Mania 35, give or take, because he went up against Drew McIntyre that year. So to see what, he's come back from and made from it, fair play to the guy, but it's just the character. I'm sick and tired of him. Just comes across as this condescending, narcissistic heel. I mean, don't get me wrong, he plays it to perfection, and that's a credit and a testament to him. He plays it well, but it would be like if Cena was still being Super Cena from like 2007 to 2013. Imagine him as champion for that long. Not multiple reigns, one singular reign. People would be tearing their hair out. There's an obvious Oni joke there, but I could make there, but I'm going to take the high road on this occasion. You get the point, though. It's at the point where someone take the belt off Roman. He's already had like the longest reign in the modern era. Great. Absolutely. Phenomenal. But either stay regularly and defend the belt, or go home and stay home. Because he's also coming across as a giant hypocrite when he's now guilty of doing the very things he criticized Brock Lesnar for some five years ago and even before that. So I don't know. And oddly enough, this last part is about Roman Reigns versus LA Knight. From what I've heard, LA Knight actually did put up a good fight, but Roman wins, or Roman wins lol. From what Bleacher Report says, it had its good points. The US title, yeah, it will get some mainstream attention, but it's just the person who has it. And they gave it a I wonder if this was Stephanie writing this from 2013. It's got a B minus review. I don't know. I'm just going to say this as tactfully as I can. I think a lot of people would feel better if they just dropped Crown Jewel, only because of the controversy that surrounded one particular year. And folks, feel free to Google that, look it up on Wiki, go look at it on your own time. We're not going to get into it here because that's one rabbit hole we don't want to go down on this podcast. And of course, the only thing I will say, Wacky Mackey went home on his private jet, but the rest of the wrestlers got held up. Keep it classy, Vince. That's all I'm going to say. Anybody want to say anything about the results of Crown Jewel, or do you both of you just feel inclined to pull a giant mulligan and say, move on?
I've already said my piece, so all good.
Sir Stephen, would you be in agreement with that? Sir Stephen?
Yes. Sorry. Was munching on some donuts. Didn't want to hear the sound. Didn't want you to hear the sounds of me munching away.
One thing I am going to kind of bring to the table for a moment. This is something I was actually talking with Win about. Oh, Dancer's asking a question. When Roman gets dethroned, what do you think will happen to Paul Heyman? You'll find somebody else to manage. Simple as that. Rhetorical question. What would happen if one of the female stars stood up to Roman and disrespected him? If this was Attitude Era, he probably would Superman punch them, but given that this is the modern era, I think probably what would happen, he would probably just smirk, walk out, like, this is not worth my time. Oh, Zoe Stark is actually the wife of AEW star Ricky Starks. I did not know that. If Roman gets defeated next year, who should take his title, Cody or LA Knight? LA Knight does deserve a run, but Cody needs to finish his story. He's owed this. Yeah, Sean says rightfully here. Any media before Blu-ray doesn't need the internet either. I don't think you can find Spaceballs on Netflix. No, you probably couldn't. One thing I am going to be doing going into next year with regards to movie reviews, probably for the first quarter next year, I'm probably only going to be doing one movie review per month, only for the simple reason, due to the nature of my sleep schedule, because most people are probably aware I'm a night owl, creature of the night, label it as you please. I have a very upside down world sleeping schedule. That's a quote from The Random. Now I just imagine, like, Random coming out to a WWE arena to the Rock's theme music, like, do you smell what the Random is cooking? Well, probably better than most of WWE's creative, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just going to be focusing on quality for each review because, folks, I did 6 reviews that were released in June, and I'd been working on them production-wise probably since late April, early May. And Dominion was finally edited, rendered, and uploaded on June 30th. Because the whole plan was go from June 11, which was the day that Jurassic Park was originally released in the States, to the end of June, just so that, you encompass the whole Jurassic June appeal, and it's like, okay, that's done. Now, with the Jurassic Park franchise, I more or less know my way around enough to know where my strengths and weaknesses are and how I can formulate dialogue with regards to looking at the structure of plot, cast performances, effects, score, the format with real features by now. But if it's a movie I haven't reviewed ever before or have not reviewed for some time, then I need to have like a bit of a deep dive, because even Bram Stoker's Dracula review went on close to 20 minutes last week, but because of the love and respect that went into that movie, so that the producers showed they actually cared about what they were doing, you therefore have to treat it, with the same appropriate level of respect as they did when making it. And because, and I'm not going to get to too much of a thing here, but because I have a limited window when I wake up every day, whether it's on a night I'm going to be at work, or if it's on a night off, I only have a small window before people come home, and I have to almost, I don't want to say shotgun through it, but I have to get through it as quickly, but as professionally and as what's the word to describe this, to where it sounds like I've actually taken the necessary time to do it properly, to actually read the lines coherently and not sound like I'm tripping over my words or speed running through it. Don't ever do that, by the way. There'd be so many blooper outtakes with regards to voiceovers and what have you. So I try to, particularly with regards to voiceovers, writing will probably get one day just dedicated just to getting the voiceovers recorded just for that category, and then the rest of the week, or however how many days, or maybe even just the one day, just to record the voiceovers for cast, then effects, then score, then final verdict. Because this is a lesson I learned the hard way back in the day. You don't always get it done on one take. If you are, you're an amazing super person to be able to do it in one go. That doesn't happen with me, because there are some times where you'll be reading it, but then you'll trip over things. But it's once you get a repetition going where you start to form muscle memory with your vocal cords, where it's like, okay, this is working through just a little bit easier now. That still takes time. Now, thankfully, with the camera footage, it's only there just to put in like quick, snarky witty and sarcastic comments to sort of have a nice little break between certain points in the voiceover dialogue. And that I tend to get done, if I'm lucky, within half an hour. Provided, I've actually got the microphone hooked up properly to the camera, because I have had one or two incidences where I go to watch the playback on my computer and like, why is there no sound? And I'm like, fuck. But because it's still fresh in the memory, it's like, okay, here we go again. And in actuality, it ends up being better because the dialogue feels a lot more natural and organic. So there is that. So, yeah, you're not going to be seeing as much of real features, probably not even this season, because BVS is up after that. Then it'll be Sonic 2, because that will be the season finale for this one. But because I will have more time to actually work on the writing, trying to be as descriptive but not too time consuming as possible, it gives it the necessary time to flesh it out to where people will come back and listen and think, okay, he's actually putting in more effort with this one. When you don't have as much time and energy, you make do with what you have. It's like, how long have I got today? 2 hours. Make those the most productive 2 hours that you've got. And then when you do it piece, little bit at a time, by the time you get to the end of the week, you're like, well, shit, the voiceovers are done. Okay, let's go party. Hey, Ren, let's go, go rock down in the convertible to Easy Cozy's, hot stepper. And he's like, I'm down for that. So that's going to be the mindset going forward. It's going to be the same thing as per norm with SKL. It's still going to be, on the Sundays at 6 p.m. And of course, when I get time off from work, it'll revert back to ye times of old when SKL was in the mythic time of 9 p.m. in the evening. And this was back when we're using Google Hangouts. I will say for Google Hangouts, this is actually a compliment here. Their audio quality, I would listen back to that years later. The quality coming from my microphone was amazing. It actually sounded like it was professional with no weird feedback or resonance bouncing off the walls. Like, this is good stuff. But, when a door gets closed, you look for another one that can open, that works for you. And, I go to OBS. Streamlabs, I feel like, is for somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing. Because OBS is for, like, the people who know how to do the more technical and masterful stuff, whereas Streamlabs, think of it as a wizard, as a template wizard for how you would make websites back in the day, where you can have like a set template for it already, but then you just edit it and manipulate it to what suits you best. And Streamlabs is very good at that. Dan, I don't know if I ever will bring back Ask the Night, but it's a show that has never left the mindset of if the right circumstances present itself, then it might come back. But, and I'm saying this to be nice, and this just goes for everyone. If I get multiple upon multiple upon multiple questions, then there won't be another episode until we get into a format where, let's say for one episode, Raiden asks a question, Steve asks a question, Oni asks a question, Lids, Win, Kaiju, random, you get the idea. Because viewer specials is only something that should happen, say, once every other 3 to 4 months. And that was one of the biggest problems, is that it was like one viewer special from one specific person after another, and I'm like, it's not going to look good long term. So if Asta Night does come back, it's got to be where, different people are asking questions each week. That's just how it is. Steve, would you say that is probably the right action plan to go with for the foreseeable future, even though it means, yes, there are going to be less tickets per season, maybe for the next 2 seasons of real features, but is it the right? But do you think it's the right way from a perspective of business plan and quality?
Well, that's a very fair way to look at it. I mean, considering, I think it's more within more recent years, it's harder to find good films to that really stand out, especially with the way Hollywood has been going.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, but I think it's a good plan if you take the extra time to make sure that the reviews are perfect. If it means one a month, I can understand that.
Yeah, I would have gotten onto the Knight Rider retrospective much sooner, but as you and I both know, this year's summer had no chill with regards to the humidity.
And it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Because if it had calmed down the way it has been doing, the way it had done for the 2 previous summers, it would have been okay. End of August, start writing, and then early September you start doing the production. Maybe middle of September you start doing the editing, and by the end of September you've got the first 2 tickets out, and you're probably then just starting to work on the writing for the Halloween reviews for the next month. Then you go to November and get the end of year and the season finale done. And what people forget with regards to whenever it's the old versus new, or in the very unique situation with regards to Star Trek Generations, that was a situation whereby retro could appear even though it was not an old movie versus a modern, interpretation. It was essentially, he represented Kirk and the modern me represented Picard. So that was a unique situation where he could be in. But the old versus new, especially if I do something like the Generations review, what people need to remember, I had to do all of Retro's scenes first with regards to live action before I went to the barbers and had my head shaved on a number 1 setting. It takes time, because then once I've got the Picard look, I could just focus on doing the Picard stuff. And obviously if there's voiceovers to do, that's easy because you're just a voice then, because then you can have the squeaky younger implied version of Retro, and nobody has to see that you're looking a little bit more like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, which, by the way, he should have been the Riddler, just saying. But even without those situations, those type of scenarios, they take time to do, because there will be some where I've grown a beard. There will be some where I've had a regular haircut, and I have to get, like I say, all of the younger versions of myself done first, because once I get the haircut or the beard shaved, I can't go back and do a reshoot. It's like I have to go with it as it is. And yeah. And considering next year it's the 40th anniversary of the original Ghostbusters, That's gonna be interesting to go back and look at that, and with what I know now, with regards to audio editing, with regards to compression, limiting, normalizing, and equalization, I can actually make the audio sound way better. And that's something that's been a huge benefit in the last couple of months. So, yeah, that's currently where we stand. And the other thing, in just 2.5 very short years, it will be the 35th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog. And I intend this time around to actually do the third retrospective, because I did Blue Reflections for the 20th, I did Fast Memories for the 25th, I was going to do the third consecutive one for 21, but I was moving and I was having mental health problems at the time, so IRL came first. And I feel bad for not being able to get something done, because I'd made the promise to myself and others that year's like, here comes the third one. But it's just like, nah, man, bring the third one when you're ready. So that will be interesting. And in all this, Raiden, my apologies, not forgetting to you sooner.
No problem.
Would you say I'm being tactfully, objectively wise for cutting the workload back, but by focusing on making it the best review possible rather than trying to pump out as many per season as I have done before?
Oh yeah, I've definitely noticed a change with it. I definitely noticed a change within you, and I think for yourself, it's doing pretty good. For a lot of people, especially the ones that are super talented, they tend to work themselves to death. And with you, you just had that spark in your head. It's like, hey, maybe I should just like focus on the things that I'm really passionate about, and the rest will come later. I mean, that's what I'm doing. Not like, just rushing. It's like, I don't know. For me this year, I'm making more time for myself, meeting new people, especially going out and just to concerts, and just like, I may not know that person, but once that music hits, like, you vibe. So, like I said, with you're definitely seeing yourself more than just like, hey, I'm talented, let me just pump out content. Now it's just like focus on one thing, and the rest will come later.
Yeah, it's very, very, very different to how my workload would have been, say, circa 2015, to where it would be Friday night, RDR, Saturday morning, After the Storm for Thunderbirds Are Go, Sunday, maybe Monday, recording an episode for SKL, Monday, go to the movies to watch a movie, come back, do 2 different reviews, one where it's non-spoiler, and then the one where it's spoiler, where it's spoiler territory, but it's like, hey, you had the option of clicking off, that was your chance. Whereas now, it's just SKL, real features. Up until recently, once every 2 weeks. Now it's just going to be SKL each week, real features once a month. Mainly because, like I say, I have limitations with regards to when. I mean, for writing, if I wanted to, and provided I had energy, time, and the motivation and the spark in my head, I could probably write 3 reasonably good quality reviews on par with, say, Iron Man, Jurassic Park, and Back to the Future. But it's taking the time to get the delivery in the voiceovers, trying to remember the lines when I'm on camera. All of it takes time. And I find, particularly with my IRL work schedule, I don't have as much time as I did, say, 5 or 6 years ago. But it is a little something I have noticed, particularly with regards to, things that are going on my YouTube channel, because, I've actually got 792 subscribers now. Awesome. And the channel, in the last 28 days, has gotten over 3,500 views. And people are still watching the Death of the Incredible Hulk review. People, what is it about that one movie review you people love so much? I'm not kidding. I'm looking at the viewing statistics for this. Since this well, shit. This video has had 10,010 views since it was published in 2021. And you've seen that review. It's actually not one of my better reviews. I mean, it's alright. It's not anything to write home about, but 10,000 views? Okay. And for some strange reason, Steve, my retrospective for Stingray's 50th is still garnering views. This one's got 353. So what is it currently at? YouTube, do not autoplay. Steve, this thing's got 5,000 views.
Blimey.
I mean, I like to think in the time since I've done that, retrospective voiceovers, green screening has gotten a lot better because I've actually got a full screen to work with, whereas most people remember I had to go into my spare room at that time and I had this whole green screen made of jade green construction paper, all seamlessly, to have all the seams put in place with blue tack. For those may not be in the know, blue tack is basically an adhesive, sticky, but not like sticky icky, not that kind of sticky icky, that you would apply to the wall, and it's an alternative for using nails or sellotape, and that would basically have kept it up on the wall. But humidity is not blue tack's best friend, and that was one of the reasons.
Ooh, so I've heard. I also have blue tack. It comes pretty handy.
I think the straw that broke the camel's back was in early 21. I walked into the spare room one day and 95% of the green screen was on the floor. And I'm just like, go and buy the green screen photo frame. Just do it. Just do it, because then you can just set it up, put it up there, and then you can take it down afterwards. And to be fair, when I've used that, particularly in the apartment in the past, I never see the creases in them. And to be fair, I've noticed a lot of this whenever they show like behind the scenes of making a movie and what have you. You do see creases and seams on, the cloth that they use, but it never shows up in the final product. And the 20th anniversary of Jurassic Park 3 was the first time I actually used that. Mind you, it was the one way to send the house off before I moved, and people say to me, why that movie? I'm like, I get that, but as I mentioned before, because I was coming out of a anxiety, mental health ditch, for lack of a better description, I needed something that I knew that I could work with. I mean, I would prefer not to have reviewed Jurassic Park 3 for the umpteenth time, but you play to your strengths. It's as simple as that. And the other reviews that seem to be garnering well, I mean, Bram Stoker's Dracula has garnered up to 238 views since last Monday. People are still watching the review of The Incredible Hulk Returns. People are still watching the the season 2 finale of Thunderbirds Are Go, and people still love mine, Wynn's, and Lids' reaction to Pogo's Picard and Data. That's one of those. It's stupid funny, but it's just so funny because it's a feel-good moment, and you can tell that Pogo was somebody that, you know, he grew up on Next Generation, and the way he got like Data's mannerisms and Picard's mannerisms, like he must have like watched every episode religiously just to get it on point. But that is where we currently sit, and I'm just 8 subscribers away from the next milestone, which is 800. So we're getting there. Because I did have over 1,000 subscribers on my original channel, but the original channel was no longer monetizable, so, you know, it is what it is. Let's see. I think we'll probably do one more article and then we'll call it time, because I think most of us are slowly running out of collective steam at this point. And also because I'd like to go get some dinner in a little bit.
Same here.
Five Nights at Freddy's movie's second weekend box office numbers are in.
Ooh.
Good to hear.
The movie will once again top the charts during a rough weekend at the box office due to the absence of Dune 2, Denis Villeneuve's, I hope I pronounced this correctly, second Dune adaptation should have hit theaters this weekend if not for delays caused by the various strikes hitting the Hollywood film industry throughout 2023. Seriously, Hollywood, get your act together and actually produce something decent. Collectively, yeah, I know. Collectively, all films at the box office will earn just over $58 million for the third smallest overall weekend gross at the box office in 23. The Blumhouse produced it? Okay.
Yeah, and
because they're supposed to be producing the next Spawn iteration. I'm like, oh dear.
And they had Universal distribute this one.
Freddy's video game franchise adaptation will win its second box office weekend with a haul estimated at $19 million, 76% drop off from its record-setting opening weekend, which brings its running total to $113 million. The Five Nights at Freddy movies is also streaming on Peacock, where it also set record for NBC Universal streaming platform. Where's my Knight Rider movie, damn it? The Five Nights at Freddy's movie success comes despite the film receiving a negative reaction from critics. Of course it did. Comic book
Mario all over again.
Scary Movie 1. Although with Jurassic World Dominion, they probably were right for a change.
Yeah.
Awarded the film only 2.5 stars out of a possible 5 in her review. She writes, since the release of Five Nights at Freddy's nearly a decade ago, the franchise has become a giant with horror lovers. This means expectations for its movie adaptations were high, and sadly Five Nights at Freddy's did not meet them. The film's sanitized scares strips the franchise of its legendary tension. When paired with its muddled story, the only thing that kept Five Nights at Freddy's afloat for me was its filmography. I think she means cinematography and Easter eggs. Even with its flaws, the film will likely impress young fans who have yet to develop a tolerance for horror. But for us older fans, well, they all have no problem surviving their visit to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Taylor Swift, the Eras tour, will remain in second place for another weekend. Exhibitors are likely hoping that the next week of Marvel Studios' The Marvels will help bring illnesses back to theaters.
No.
People will probably ending up watching Shaquille O'Neal's Steel rather than watching that, and there's Rain like, oh, don't remind me about that movie, man. And it'll certainly help, but the tracking is suggesting it'll be one of the MCU's more muted debuts. The list at the top 10 films at the box office film follows: Freddy Fazbear, Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, Killers of the Flower Moon. All right.
Yeah, that's been popular.
Priscilla. Oh, okay. It's not a bad Elvis look-alike in the picture. Radical. Not entirely sure what that's about.
No idea what that is.
The Exorcist Believer. Yeah, I'm going to be giving that a hard pass. I'm not a fan of. Not a fan of
I
that
prefer the
franchise.
original.
I'm not the biggest Exorcist guy, but the way they've been pumping out movies like this is kind of dickish.
Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie. That's a pass simply because it's not for me. After Death, scientists, authors, and survivors of near-death experiences discuss the spiritual and scientific dimensions of mortality and after. So that's basically another version of Flatliners.
Reminds me of Hereafter.
What happens later? Oh, David Duchovny. Oh, long time times I've seen you, sir. Wow, Meg Ryan directing this. Wow, there's a name I've not heard in a while. And Duchovny, that man does not age. Oh, fun fact. If it wasn't Eric Banner and Edward Norton, respectively, he could have been Bruce Banner. He could have been. And finally, Freelance. Oh, it's a John Cena movie.
Well, I can't see him.
Very good. Stuck in a dead-end desk job, a former special forces operative, Mason Petit, reluctantly takes on a freelance gig to provide security for a washed-up journalist as she interviews a ruthless dictator.
Boy.
Oh, yeah, I think I did see a trailer for this. When a military coup breaks out just as she's about to get the scoop of a lifetime, the unlikely trio must figure out how to survive the jungle and one another to make it out alive. Pierre Motel directed Freelance with a screenplay by Jacob Lentz. The film stars John Cena, Alison Brie, Juan Pablo Raba, and Christian Slater.
Some of that sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. The plot synopsis, anyway.
I think it's one of those. Just watch it for what it is. Don't try to think too much about it. It's just like nod, smile politely, and just laugh, and you get through just fine. Because there are some movies where thinking is not required. Because if you try to think about it, it's going to give you a headache. It'll be like only trying to figure out Jurassic Park. And one of these days, folks, I'm going to get him playing Jurassic World Evolution. I'm going to make it happen. Yeah, you will not. Yes, you will, because you know how you are with losing bets.
Yeah, just like it last week or 2 weeks ago when he said he would never watch Five Nights at Freddy's unless he got $30.
Yeah.
I donated $50.
You could imagine like looking behind, like, I hate you.
And I actually clipped it on his Twitch channel as well.
Nice.
So if anyone fancies having a look at that whole thing, feel free to check out his channel with all the clips there from his Spider-Man 2 playthrough.
Nice. All right. Well, Steve, your thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's being a top for a second week before we close out?
I think it is justified, because after going to an early showing of the film, there was a lot of love and attention and dedication to making this film, just from the set designs, the animatronics themselves that were made in hand with the Jim Henson Creature Workshop, and the fact that they got Scott Cawthon, the creator of the games himself, to work on the movie. That just shows the dedication and the care that they did for the fans and some of the other things included. Despite a few of them being a bit cringy at times, such as the Matt Pack cameo. Yes, he does feature in this, folks. It just goes when he does his infamous line of, "It's just a theory." It's just like, I did loudly groan when I heard that in the movie. But apart from that, I'm glad it's getting. I'm glad it's getting good praises. I mean, it's already made about 5 times its budget worldwide, so they must be doing something right.
Yep. Raiden, do you have anything to input on Five Nights being #1 for 2 weeks?
I mean, good for them. I mean, I never was a big Five Nights at Freddy's person of the games, but I'm happy to hear about its success, especially hearing about the practical effects and using animatronics. Seriously, that's been the saving grace from what I'm hearing. I heard one of them went faulty. It's like there you go. So I mean, I like people being more creative with stuff. Funny enough, before this movie came out, Banana Splits, that was supposed to be a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, but I like how creative they were when they have like actual dancers be in the suits and have like the imagination of them being animatronics. But now seeing the suits being animatronics, I'm happy to hear about that because practical effects need to make a comeback. CGI for me has just worn out its welcome, but I feel like if you know how to do it, you know how to do it. So I will check it. I will check out the movie sooner or later, but like I said, good for them.
I think it's like anything. If it can be done practically, why isn't it? You know? I just think, I mean, if you do a movie like The Hulk, like Iron Man, for Iron Man, you definitely can get a lot of practical effects done, but if you like stuff with him like flying and what have you, yeah, you need CG. And if you have like any Jurassic Park movie where there's full motion dinosaurs running, that's CG. You can't do that with an animatronic. At least not yet, anyway. At least not yet. But yeah, I think CG, as you say, it's gotten tiresome, and it should only be used if it cannot be done practically, or at the very least, use it in a way whereby it enhances a practical effect rather than it being the end product, for lack of a better term. Okay, that will do it for this week's episode for Sunday Night Live. Unfortunately, we are back to the regular scheduled time of 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Big thank you to my co-host this evening in Sir Stephen and the Cyber Raiden, and just want to make a shout out to a very good friend of mine who's like a brother from another mother. If you need decent anime commissioned artwork out there, go over to Hayakane on DeviantArt.com. I probably should spell this out properly as well, just so because I'm likely to get something wrong. Hang on. No. Spell check, do it right. Let's see. Here we go. If you go to deviantart.com, Hayakane, that's Hayakain, an amazing artist, and you will get your money's worth and then some from him. Okay. And on that note, we shall go to the end of the stream. Is there anybody worth raiding this week? Oh, the little lemon bun is up and running. So,
Lemon.
Not that kind of lemon. Honestly, folks, she has she can be a little acid-tongued on occasion, but she does it in a way where it's like, oh, you're adorable. So yeah, we're gonna go raid the little lemon bun. At the very least, do give her a look. If you feel inclined, give her a follow, and obviously, if you are impressed with what she does, give her a subscription as well. Because whether if it's Nuclear Shark, whether if it's or if it's Blonde Days, another one I highly recommend. Twitch.tv/Blonde Days. That's BLONDEDAZE. Absolute sweetheart. A little bit sassy and sarcastic, but hey, that's how I like my women. Just saying. Good night from Sir Stephen.
Bye.
A good night from the Grandmaster that is the Cyber Raiden.
Yes.
And good night from me. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in. And good night to you as well, Sean. Nice to see you.
Momentum there.
Just wait.